I'm a mountain that speaks, but you can also know me as the pace. Today I want to talk about something that's been stealing your peace, the feeling that you're behind schedule, behind your peers, behind where you thought you'd be by now. Everyone else seems ahead. They have the job, the relationship, the house, the clarity, the life that looks figured out, and you're still figuring it out, starting over, trying things, feeling like you missed some crucial deadline, like everyone got a memo about when things are supposed to happen, and you never received. The people who appear ahead aren't always happier. They're just ahead on a specific, socially approved metric. But are they ahead in self-knowledge, in authentic living, in alignment with their actual values? Or are they just ahead in checking boxes, hitting milestones, looking successful? Because those are different kinds of progress, and only one of them actually matters. I've watched people speedrun through life, get everything done early, check every box by 30, and by 35 they're having existential crises because they moved so fast they never stopped to ask if they wanted the destination. They hit milestones without meaning, achieved timelines without alignment, and now they're ahead, but they're not fulfilled. Meanwhile, I've watched other people take longer, move slower, start careers at 35 that others started at 22, find love at 40 that others found at 25, figure out what they want at 45 while others have been living someone else's wants for decades. Are they behind, or are they just on a different timeline? A timeline that includes self-discovery, course correction, living multiple lives in one lifetime. That's not behind, that's rich, but the culture calls it behind, because the culture benefits from everyone moving at the same pace. Easier to sell products to people on the same schedule. Easier to measure success when everyone's hitting the same milestones. Easier to keep people anxious and consuming when they feel perpetually late. But you're not late, you're just not following their schedule. And that's allowed, that's more than allowed. That's necessary if you want a life that's actually yours. Let me tell you about someone I watched. Let's call them the Wanderer. They spent their 20s trying things, different cities, different jobs, different relationships, different versions of themselves, and everyone around them was concerned. When are you going to settle down? When are you going to pick something? When are you going to commit? When are you going to stop being behind? But here's what everyone missed. The Wanderer wasn't behind. They were gathering experience, gathering clarity, gathering knowledge about who they actually were versus who they were supposed to be. And at 34, when their peers were having midlife crises and questioning everything, the Wanderer started a business based on everything they'd learned, built a life based on everything they'd tried, created work that synthesized all those different experiences into something unique, something their peers couldn't create because they hadn't taken the time to gather. They'd been too busy being ahead. The Wanderer wasn't behind. They were just on a different timeline, a timeline that included exploration before execution, questions before answers, becoming before building. And by 40, they'd built something more aligned, more authentic, more theirs than most people build in a lifetime. Were they behind at 28, or were they gathering what they'd need at 34? Perspective changes everything. So let me ask you directly, what are you gathering right now that you'll need later? What are you learning that doesn't look like progress but is? What detours are you taking that feel like delays but are actually essential? Because here's what I know about nonlinear paths. They're richer, more textured, more interesting. People who take straight paths get there faster, but people who take winding paths get there wiser. And wisdom matters more than speed, always. Now I need to tell you something uncomfortable. Some of your timeline anxiety isn't about actual desire, it's about social pressure. You don't actually want to be married right now. You just feel behind because your friends are married. You don't actually want that job. You just feel inadequate because someone else has it. You're not measuring your life against your values. You're measuring it against their milestones, and then wondering why you feel empty even when you hit the marks. So let me give you something to try. Get quiet, really quiet, quiet enough to hear what you actually want versus what you think you should want by now. And ask yourself this: if no one knew your age, if no one was watching, if there were no timelines or expectations or comparisons, what would you actually be doing right now? Would you be rushing toward marriage? Or would you be enjoying being single? Would you be chasing that promotion? Or would you be exploring something completely different? Would you be buying a house? Or would you be traveling? When you remove the timeline anxiety, when you remove the comparison, when you remove the should, what's actually true for you? That's your timeline, not theirs, yours. And your timeline might be slower in some areas, faster in others, completely different in ways that don't even register on conventional measures of progress. And that's okay. That's more than okay. That's your life being yours. Now let me address something. Some of you are thinking, but I do want those things. I do want the relationship, the career, the stability. I'm not behind because I don't want them. I'm behind because I can't seem to get them. I hear you, and that's different. That's not timeline anxiety. That's genuine longing for something that hasn't arrived yet. And that's hard, wanting something real and not having it yet. But even then, are you behind or are you not ready yet in ways you can't see? Sometimes we want things before we're equipped to sustain them, before we've done the internal work they require. Sometimes the delay is protection. Sometimes not getting what you want when you want it saves you from getting it before you're ready. I know that's not satisfying. I know you want it now, but what if the timing, even when it feels late, is actually perfect? What if you're being prepared for something you can't see yet? I'm not saying be passive. I'm not saying don't take action toward what you want. I'm saying trust that your timing is not evidence of your failure. Your pace is not proof of your inadequacy. You're not behind. You're becoming, and becoming takes as long as it takes. Let me give you something practical. I want you to make 2 lists. First list, write down everything you feel behind on, all the milestones you haven't hit, all the things others have that you don't, all the ways you feel late. Get it all out. Every comparison, every anxiety, every measure of behind. Now second list, for each thing on the first list, ask yourself, do I actually want this, or do I just feel like I should want it by now? Be brutally honest. Some things you'll realize you don't actually want. You just want to stop feeling behind, and that's different. Other things you'll realize you do want, deeply, and for those things ask, what am I learning right now that will serve me when I have this? What am I becoming right now that I'll need to be then? Reframe the delay as preparation, not always, not forever, but for now, as a way to stay present instead of perpetually anxious.
Because anxiety about being behind keeps you from being here, and being here is where your actual life is happening. Not in the future when you finally catch up, not in the past when you think you fell behind. Here, now on your timeline, at your pace, which might be slower than theirs, which might be faster in ways they can't see, which might be so different that comparison is meaningless. And isn't that freeing? To realize that your timeline is incomparable, that you're not in a race, that there's no finish line everyone's rushing toward, that life is not a competition you're losing. Your life is your life. Their life is their life. And measuring yours against theirs is like measuring a mountain against the ocean and asking which one is behind. Behind what? They're completely different, both valuable, both necessary, both exactly what they're meant to be. You're not behind, you're you, on your timeline, at your pace, learning what you need to learn, becoming who you need to become. And that timing is perfect, even when it doesn't feel like it, even when everyone else seems ahead, even when you're tired of people asking when. When will you? When will you? When will you? Answer is, when it's time, your time, not theirs. Rumpfun timeline. You can call me the pace when you need to remember that different timeline is not late timeline. That comparison steals presence, that your timing is not evidence of failure. I'll be here, moving at mountain pace, which is slow and also eternal, holding space for you to move at your pace. Whatever that is, however long it takes, ready to stop comparing, your timeline is waiting.